Welcome to the Peabody Business Podcast. My name is Chris Ryder. I serve as Chief of Staff to Mayor Ted Betancourt, as well as the liaison to the city's business community. I'm very happy today to be joined by representatives from Project CHILD. Project CHILD is located at Centennial Park, number 5 Centennial Drive. And I'm joined today by the CEO of Project CHILD, Dylan Langelier. I'm joined by Danielle Langelier, who's the Vice President of Community Engagement and Resource Coordinator, and Kim Martell, who's the Clinical Director for Project CHILD. Welcome all.
Thank you.
It's very good to have you here. Let's get right to it. Dylan, this might be a good question for you. What inspired the creation of Project CHILD?
Yeah, so Project CHILD was started in 2001 by an occupational therapist, Kathy Carley. She has been an OT for about 50 years now. But in 2001, she was going through some training for a specialized holistic therapy called integrated sound therapy. And it was based on the Tomatis method. And so what it was is you would listen to filtered music. So you'd put headphones on. There was bone and air conduction. And so she brought that therapy to this part of the state. She was one of the first to do that in the industry. And so as part of that, being an OT and doing this extra therapy, she had clients that would do the sound training program, but also wanted to have OT. And so she decided after about a year to start doing OT as well, again. And so it just grew from there. We had a couple of occupational therapists working for her at that time and started seeing clients, and it just kept growing. We added a number of other therapies over the years, but that's really how it started. So it was her passion for serving the community and for doing holistic therapy, so not just traditional medical-based services. She really wanted to serve the community in the whole person, the whole individual, and looking for alternatives to traditional medicine and things like that.
Sure.
So that's how Project CHILD started. Our acronym, so CHILD is an acronym, and it stands for the Center for Holistic Integration of Listening, Learning, and Development. So when you think of the company, it really embodies all of those pieces. It's not just one service offering. It's really a center, and it's a center for a variety of services for the clients.
Interesting. Recently, about a year ago, you relocated Project CHILD from Beverly, Mass. To Peabody. And at the same time, there was an expansion. What was the driving force behind the relocation and the expansion?
Yeah, so we had been tenants at Cummings Properties for about 22 years. Over that time, we did 4 or 5 expansions within the Cummings property, which included one relocation within the complex. And we were there a long time. We loved the Beverly community. We were really a big part of the Beverly community for all of those years. But it got to a point where we didn't feel supported in the way we needed for our families. And we needed to find a place where we could continue to grow, continue to offer the support and safety for those families that we serve, where they feel like they can be part of the community. Mm-hmm. So we found that in Peabody. We've been very, very happy with the way we've been welcomed and warmly welcomed by the Peabody community as a whole, and it gave us an opportunity. So it's been really good.
Great. Well, we're glad to have you here in Peabody. You mentioned the community and the community aspect of it. Maybe you could talk about the role of community engagement in the success of Project CHILD. This might be a good question for you, Danielle. Talk about integrating in the community and how it's gone in Peabody so far and some of the things you do to affect that.
Absolutely. So community is a huge component of everybody's life, and we all need community to feel purposeful and to feel secure and to feel welcomed. And at Project CHILD, community has played such a huge part of what we respond to. So as a center, we respond to what individuals and families in our community need, and we seek out services and offerings and relationships within the community that will support them whether that's in our clinic or outside of our doors somewhere else, like a really supportive extracurricular activity, swimming lessons that support individuals that have varying needs. And one aspect of community engagement that we're really excited about that started in this past year has been kind of an extended arm of Project Child, and it's called TASK. TASK is a program for adults. So as our pediatric clients have grown into adults, we've wanted to continue to be able to support them in their new roles and in their new goals and in their community. TASK is also an acronym. It stands for Therapeutic, Adaptive, Social, and Community Engagement. So one huge pillar of that is getting adults connected to their community, building relationships, whether that's through vocational opportunities, activities, getting them out and taking advantage of other businesses and going to places and really building that community feel for them.
Interesting. How does Project Child ensure that the various services that you provide meet the unique needs of the clientele of those you serve?
Yeah, that's a great question. So the H in Child for holistic really, I think, differentiates Project Child from other centers. And we have a variety of offerings, including speech therapy, occupational therapy, integrated sound therapy, neurofeedback. We now have, in addition to the adult program with the expansion to Peabody, we have psychiatric, a nurse practitioner, and neuropsychology, and we are trying to kind of grow the mental health aspect. So when a client calls or a parent calls, because our clinicians have access within our center to other disciplines, we're often able to answer a parent's question when the parent is looking for, they don't know what service they need. So we take calls where parents are really kind of deferring to us to say, okay, it sounds like you might need occupational therapy or speech therapy or both. So we really, or a different service and combinations of services. So we really try to listen and hear where a parent and client is at when they're coming to us and try to take a holistic approach. And one of Kathy's firm beliefs is that for every client who comes in, whether they're highly verbal and skilled motor-wise, or whether they might communicate with a device or have struggled to communicate, that we presume competence in all of the clients who come in, and we really look for each child's individual and unique skills and qualities and start from a place of strength. And in doing so, I think that helps the parents and the client feel secure within Project Child, and it helps us provide a more holistic care team for the child.
Sure. And that gets to one of the questions was integration of services. There are services that you offer that may not be of benefit to some that you serve, and then there are some that are definitely a benefit to others. Who makes that decision? How long does it take to get to know that person that you serve to say, okay, we're going to put these services together? Where does that integration point happen? When, where, and how?
Yeah, so it actually happens in so many ways. It can happen on the first call when a parent calls. But because our clinicians are used to and comfortable with a multidisciplinary approach, it can happen with a speech therapist in their first session where they say, you know what, I think I want to call in an occupational therapist, and ask the parent, would you feel comfortable if an occupational therapist took a look at your child? Or it can happen down the road when a client's gone through a therapy, gone through a sound therapy program, or gone through neurofeedback, and we say, okay, now I really feel as though XYZ therapy would be good for your child if you're looking to pursue further services. So it can happen at kind of any and all phases, and it really the conversations are really centered around client needs and parent comfortability and what the whole family system is looking for in terms of services.
I'd like to just add one point to that. And Kim, thank you. That was very eloquent. So when we created Project Child and have grown Project Child, the whole point of the center that we're creating is to have one location where the clients can get all of the services that they need, or many of the services that they need. when you have a child with a disability, or just a child in general, and you're running around appointment to appointment, it's a lot of time. It's a lot of time in the car. And if we're able to offer occupational and speech therapy for a kiddo that needed both services in one place, doing back-to-back services, but then they could also get a neuropsych eval at the beginning of the school year, or they can do neurofeedback, which is biofeedback for the brain, and do that during the week. We're offering this whole package to the family, and we have therapists that work in all these different disciplines as a care team versus just a therapist working one-on-one with a client with their siloed view. We meet as a team, talk about that client as a team, come up with the best plan for them. And that's one piece that really differentiates Project Child from many of the other centers, many other clinics that do similar services, but we just do it a little different.
Sure. And in terms of the families, that's such an important aspect of what you do in providing services for these children. You also have to engage with the family to make sure that they understand the recommendations that you're making, the services that you recommend for the children, for their children. What are some of the ways that you stay engaged with the families? It must make it easier to have a center, all-encompassing, where people can come. But there's got to be other ways. What are some of the ways you found effective to reach out to families and let them know how things are going?
Yeah, well, it really starts at the beginning, building that relationship. And one thing that the founder and our mother, Kathy, really strongly believes in is that we're not just treating the client, we're treating their whole family. And that goes back to that community piece too. Like, people don't live in their own little lane. We all have a community. We have a family around us. And whatever changes that individual is wanting to make or needing to make needs to happen in that family context and in that community context. So it's really important that we not only meet the child or the individual where they're at, but we're also meeting the family where they're at too, and what they're ready for and what their goals are as a unit. So we start there, and that starts in that first phone call with our front office, and then it translates into the evaluation with the therapist who's starting working with them and integrates into the team, and really just staying engaged with that family every step of the way to address their individual goals. And we are really fortunate. We have the luxury of getting to see families when they bring their child to us, and then we also get to see them again when they pick them up. So we're in constant communication with the families about how their week went, what they're working on, what they saw. Then we get to give them updates and address those concerns and those questions kind of in the moment with them.
In real time.
Yeah.
That must be very reassuring for the families and very, very reassuring for their children as well to have that kind of attention. Speaking of families again.
Sorry, I just bother you to get a little bit closer to the microphone.
No worries. Let's see. Speaking of families again, there's a financial ramification here that all families need to find a way to pay for services. So specifically, I guess I wanted to ask, maybe Dylan, this might be a good one for you. Well, you talk about the families, and one of the big considerations, of course, for families is to pay for services. Perhaps you can talk about how that works for the families, and specifically what challenges Project Child faces in helping those families finance it, given some of the policies at the federal level, some of the challenges we have with our insurance system in America.
Absolutely. That's a great question. I'll start with the insurance piece. So in our industry, we do take a number of insurances, of the private insurances out there. And insurance, it's the only industry that can determine how much your services worth. So you're a therapist, you do a service for a client. We bill a code. And with that code, the insurance company determines what that is worth. They also determine when they'll pay it, how much they'll pay, what increases, if they'll do any increases at all, or they may even decrease the value of that code or that service. And then they also can pay for a service that a family has at Project Child, and then years later, after doing an audit, they can do a take back. It's the only industry that can happen. And the truth is, the health insurance industry in this country is broken. It's out there for big business and, capitalism and things like that, but it's not there to really truly support the individual and the individual's needs. And so one of the things we've done to combat that over the years, we've been part of committees that have tried to, fight for change through the legislature. Kathy's been on committees at the State House advocating for these services to be covered. We've also started a foundation internally at a small level to try to help families that struggle financially. So you can go to the Project Child Foundation right from our website and apply for grants as a family if you meet the financial need. And that grant funds can help support therapeutic services.
Okay.
Not just at Project Child, but if you wanted to do hippotherapy, which is horseback riding, for example, or therapeutic swimming, or guitar lessons, whatever it may be, you can apply for a grant and get some funding for that.
Interesting.
Additionally to that, we believe in having a well-educated staff, but also just well-educated therapists out in the community.
Mm-hmm.
So we have a second grant option where if you're a therapist and you're trying to get a certificate, further your education in the field, you can apply for a grant to get support for that as well.
Okay.
So that's one way that Project Child, in a small way, is trying to help families. But the bigger issue, and we're not going to solve it in a 15-minute conversation, is at the federal level. Insurance companies need to see the value of the services that we provide. Holistic therapy in general, differentiates. The reason it's really called holistic is because insurance doesn't cover it.
Mm-hmm.
So there's therapies out there that are very, very beneficial to our population, but to all people, and they're being rejected, those services, because insurance is determined it's not worth paying for.
Yeah.
So that's the bigger challenge long term.
How does Project Child, how do you all measure success?
Yeah. So just like your question about the individuality of the treatment approach for children and for adults who come to us, there's a big individual difference in what success looks like. And part of our role, too, is to help parents recognize success and recognize the small successes. Because as Dylan mentioned, when you have a child with a disability, every day can be incredibly challenging, and you can be so in the weeds that seeing a small success can escape you if somebody doesn't point it out. And so for different clients, success looks really different. But what I will say is that when a child comes to us, our goal is for them to feel for that hour, for that 45 minutes they're in speech or whatever service they're getting, that they are valued, that they are important, and to build a confidence in that child. And it may not be their best day, or it may be their best day, but they have somebody in their corner, that therapist, who is going to keep working with them and who's going to really, really see the value in that child. So for some, success may look like being able to participate without having an emotional challenge. For others, success might look like completely meeting all of their treatment goals and being independent in all of their self-care skills in life. It really is dependent on the child.
Sure. Well, maybe you could expand a little bit in terms of the most, and you all feel free to chime in on this one, the most rewarding aspect of the job for you. Kim, we'll start with you.
Yeah, it is that when you have a child who realizes that they've done something that they couldn't do before, and there is this glimmer and glow in their eye, and they are so proud and they're so happy, and they just it really builds that intrinsic sense of wanting to grow and wanting to learn and feeling proud of themselves. That and then the families who tell us that it's a safe space for them, that Project Child is the one place in their child's week that they can go and they don't have to worry about feeling badly for how their child presents, that they feel supported by the staff, but also by the other children in our community and by our therapists and by the other parents in the waiting room as well. So that's the most success, or the most rewarding for part of it for me. Yeah.
Dylan, Danielle, do you concur?
Oh yeah, for sure. And I think too, like that relationship that you build with the families over time and watching it grow. Like I think back to families that I've been working with for years and just where we started as like a whole team to where we are now. I feel like that's always really, really rewarding.
To see the growth of the team and the organization. How about you, Dylan?
I second both of those points, and I come from it from a different lens. I'm not a therapist. Kathy, Kim, Danielle, the rest of our therapeutic team, they're all licensed therapists working one-on-one with the kids. But it is such a rewarding place to be. And, I'll step back for 1 minute, tell a quick story. So, you'd wanted us to talk about the family aspect a little bit. And Project Child, was started by our mother, Kathy, and growing up, her first private practice, she worked in the school systems when we were young, but her first private practice was in what's now our family dining room. And so Danielle and I would come home from school, and there would be clients in treatment in our home.
Mm-hmm.
So we grew up in the industry, whether or not we wanted to, but we were just there. We were immersed in it. And I remember when I realized truthfully that this was where I needed to be is I was traveling I was a consultant and I was traveling. I was at the airport and I saw a kiddo underneath the seats at the terminal, rubbing his hands on the bottom of the seats, giving himself input, self-soothing. Families and people that were traveling looking at him and the parent with disgust. And I'm there, huge smile on my face, like that's so cool. He's doing that to calm himself down before a flight that might be terrifying for him. And I realized that was just naturally in me from, my life growing up with our mother who, just taught us about this field and this industry. So for me, the rewarding piece, even though I'm not often working one-on-one with clients, is seeing the gains that they make, walking through the hall, hearing the laughter, seeing the smiles. It's a really heartwarming thing to be a part of at any level, whether you're part of our client care team and you really get to know the kids and the whole family.
Yeah.
So if you're part of the administrative team or you're a therapist, we are one big family at Project Child, and it's such a rewarding place to be.
That's very cool. You mentioned TASK and the development of programs for adults. Talk about other things that you see as the vision for the future of Project Child.
Yeah, so, we moved to Peabody for a lot of reasons, but one of the big ones was the opportunity for growth of the business and the offerings that we have. We have a very unique space and a unique build-out that we custom designed for our purposes. Completely brand new space, spent painstaking hours and as a team, and Kim and I late into the nights trying to draw up plans so that we could provide the most efficient space and offer the most services that we could to our families. And as part of that, we wanted to include mental health. That's a big part of our expansion. So we look at the whole person, the whole child, the whole family, and mental health, especially around COVID, has become so prevalent. We see clients from birth all the way to adulthood. And what we've noticed is over the time of COVID, mental health became so prevalent. So now we are able to offer through our space a nurse practitioner who does med management and counseling, do neuropsych evaluations, so testing prior to school years and throughout the year for the clients. And we also started TASK, like you had mentioned. So TASK was created because we needed a space that was unique for our adult population to teach them life skills, job skills, vocational skills, all of those different things in a space that felt like it was for them. Instead of feeling like I'm going to Project Child as a 42-year-old, colors like a pediatrician's type office. So we wanted to create a space for them. And we did that through tasks. So it's in the same building that we're in, but it has its own space, its own feel, its own branding. We can accept insurances that they need to have accepted through there. And it's just, we're really trying to do it different. There's not enough adult programs out there. And of the ones that are, they're not all great. And so when you turn 22 in the school system, your services stop.
Right.
They cut them off. And so children prior to 22 have a lot of funding, have a lot of services covered through the schools primarily. But what does the government think? At 22, you're no longer with us?
Right.
You know, there's a whole life after that. And we know we can get so much out of these adults and give them such great successes and help lead them to those.
Yep.
And support those growth areas. And we're doing that with our adult program.
Great. Well, we're very grateful to have Project Child here in Peabody. What's the best way for families who could benefit from your services to reach Project Child?
Yeah, so people can find us. We have a website. It's www.projectchild.com. They can give us a call at our front office, and someone is happy to help connect you with the right service or a therapist that you can speak with. Our number is 978-232-0332. And we also have a great Instagram account called project.child with 2 L's. And we do a really great Halloween. So I highly recommend watching in October to see what we have up our sleeves.
Excellent. Projectchild with 2Ls.com is the website. The phone number 978-232-0332. Instagram, project.child with 2 Ls is our Instagram. I want to thank Dylan, Danielle, and Kim from Project Child for joining us and shedding light on what you do. It's amazing. It's a tremendous service. And thank you very much for being here.
Thank you so much, Chris.
Welcome to Peabody, Massachusetts, a city of